Types and consequences of audit reports. Now, audit report, I keep on defining so that you have it in your mind. Candidates is a formal document issued by an independent auditor for examining a company's financial statements. And the type of audit report issued depends on the auditor's assessment of the financial statements. And there are 4 primary types of audit reports. Which I had highlighted earlier here. There are 4 main types. One is the unqualified, the report that contains unqualified opinion. Unqualified. Sometimes it's referred to as unmodified opinion. Unqualified or unmodified. Now, the auditor here concludes that the financial statements are free from material misstatements and present a true and fair view. That's it, candidates. This is a positive report. Consequences. So we have to study the types and consequences. So what are the consequences of an unqualified or unmodified audit report? Positive. I've said this is a positive report which enhances the credibility of the financial statements and the company's reputation. If you are to a director or yes, if you are part of the management or you are the manager of a company and an independent auditor examines the records that you have provided, comes up with an opinion that the financial statements present a true and fair view of the financial position of the company. If the auditor who is independent gives a positive opinion, an unqualified opinion, unmodified opinion, then that enhances the credibility of the financial statements and the company. That's first consequence, positive consequence. It enhances credibility and reputation of the company. All right, that is unqualified opinion. Then you have qualified opinion or report. Now, a qualified report. Here the auditor concludes that the financial statements are generally accurate, but there are specific issues or limitations that need to be highlighted. So you see, it is positive apart from a few areas. generally, candidates here, generally, this is a positive report, apart from a few areas that ought to be highlighted. So here the audit acknowledges the overall accuracy of the financial statements, apart from a few areas. You understand? It's a positive report. The third report, adverse opinion. Here the auditor concludes that the financial statements are materially misstated and do not present a true and fair view. You understand? They have, of course, disclaimer of opinion report. Disclaimer of opinion report. The auditor here is unable to form an opinion on the financial statements due to significant limitations in the scope of the audit. And the consequence here is that this report protects the auditor from liability. It protects the auditor from liability. The auditor does not give an opinion here because of limitation. But for adverse, it forces the company to rectify the circumstances. That is the consequence. Forces the company, an adverse opinion forces the company to rectify the circumstance that led to the adverse opinion. So I've highlighted the four types of reports, and for each report I've also identified a consequence. And generally, candidates, there are four main types of factors that affect the auditor's report. Factors that affect type of auditor's report. One is material misstatement. Material misstatement. Now, this is the significance of any error or omission in the financial statements. The significance of any omission or error in the financial statements will dictate whether the auditor will issue unqualified, qualified, adverse or disclaimer of opinion. So material misstatements is a factor that affects the type of audit report. Number two, scope of limitation. You may be asked such a question, candidates. What are the factors that affect the type of an auditor's report? One is material misstatement. Number two is the scope limitations. These are restrictions on the auditor's ability to gather evidence. If the auditor is unable to gather evidence, then the auditor will issue disclaimer of opinion and state that he is not able to provide an opinion because of limitation on the scope. Going, concern, uncertainty can also dictate whether the auditor will issue unqualified, qualified, adverse, or disclaimer of opinion. These are doubts about the company's ability to continue operating in the foreseeable future. 4. Compliance with accounting standards and regulations. This is a factor that can cause an audit report to be unqualified, qualified, adverse, or disclaimer of opinion. Failure to adhere to relevant accounting standards can lead to qualification or modification, or even the auditor to issue adverse opinion.